Welcome to our event on raising confidence in children. The presenters for this event are Dr. Ian Connor and Dr. Maria Gascon. Ian Connor is Centre Director of First Psychology in Edinburgh. He's a consultant clinical psychologist and formerly a teacher, so is really experienced in working with children in educational and home settings. Maria is a counselling psychologist and is also experienced in working with children and families. Indeed, as well as working for First Psychology, she's presently a psychologist in a child and family service in the NHS.
One researcher has said self-esteem is a bit like the speedometer on your car. The speedometer tells us how fast we're going, but if we want to go faster, we don't change the speedometer. We actually go to the engine and we change the mechanics of the car. So if we think about self-esteem like that, it's something that gives us a gauge of how we're doing, but it's something we need to work on other things to make ourselves feel better or to bring about change. Incidentally, self-esteem is something that, as we know, people in North America have been very big on for a number of decades. Certainly when we think about school or when we think about childcare programs, you're great, you're number one, go team, all of these kind of phrases are used. But it doesn't seem to tally up with the picture of what's happening to those children as they grow up. The American Psychiatric Association and the American Psychological Association as well have released figures that more people than ever in America are expressing symptoms of anxiety, symptoms of depression. So there's a real sense that even though the focus has been on improving self-esteem, it's not actually having the desired outcome. Some researchers would suggest that that's because not everyone can be number one, not everyone can be great. And actually as these children grow up, they realise that, and it absolutely affects their sense of self.
We often run the risk of equating confidence with being able to speak in public or give presentations. And certainly we need to be careful about doing that. There are certainly children who don't mix very well, who have difficulties in putting themselves across, who maybe have difficulties with friends, in school, and might be vulnerable to bullying. And of course, these children, need to be helped, need to be considered, and need to be kind of helped to integrate. But there are also children who are naturally reserved and quiet. Who have friends who fit in their environment. They just don't feel that they want to take the limelight. They're quite happy cooperating, being able to listen to different ideas, and they don't have a strong desire to put themselves into the limelight or to express their views and opinions in a very overt way. So it would be easy enough to conclude that these children also have some kind of lack of something, and would be easy to communicate to these children that there's something wrong, that they're not quite doing things right, that they need to develop to be more expressive, more outgoing. But of course, that runs the risk of telling these children that, communicating to them that there's something not quite right, rather than actually focusing on their strengths, which will be many.
Self-efficacy is a belief that I'm going to be successful at a task. So I have high self-efficacy that I will do okay at this presentation. I have low self-efficacy that I will grow a mohawk. Okay? I'm not going to be successful at that. People with high self-efficacy achieve much more. They have increased levels of satisfaction and in general increased levels of well-being. What we find with people who have lower levels of self-efficacy, so a sense that they won't be successful at tasks, is their well-being in general is much lower. They're more prone to issues of depression, high levels of stress, anxiety. In terms of optimism, there's a nice quote there from Chris Peterson. So essentially what he's saying is that, you know, for anything positive, any way in which we could frame things positively in life, optimism is a core feature. People who are optimistic tend to have better problem-solving skills because there's a sense that if I can't do it this time, you know, I can try again. It's okay. Optimism is what made me pass my driving test on the 4th go. There's a little bit of shame attached to that, but anyway. Without that, I would have given up. Would have had a sense, well, it's not for me. LRT bus pass. Okay, people who are more pessimistic in nature, as I said, tend to give up at tasks. They see things very much more black and white, success, failure. And again, thanks Maria, they tend to be more vulnerable to issues of depression or anxiety. So pessimism and optimism. I guess we can think about, I want you to think about this picture in terms of your own lives at home. What are you projecting at home? Are you projecting, sorry for you guys, I'm kind of, are you projecting yep, we'll give it a shot, and if we don't get it this time, we'll have a look and we'll see if we can get it next time? Or are you promoting oh well, I'm just not like that. That's, you know, that's not for me. You know, it's okay. Some people will never drive. Some people will never run a marathon.
When children play, they really become themselves. They put themselves into it. They give 110% of themselves into what they're doing. And by using descriptive comments rather than asking questions, you're kind of accompanying them in that process. When you're asking a question, the child has to almost stop, consider your question, find the answer to your question, answer it, and then almost go back to what they were doing. So there's a kind of breaking up of. For example, you know, this is, you know, an analogy around using descriptive comments is like a radio commentator commenting on a tennis match or a football match. You're just literally describing, verbalizing out loud what you're observing. So you'll be going like, all right, so you're now kind of getting that knight kind of from the castle, and you're going to put it on the top of the castle, or you're going to get that car, you're getting the red car, and you're moving it towards the castle, and then you're just literally doing that. And above all, have fun. Kind of play is about fun, it's about enjoyment for you and the child. And sometimes you can maybe get into kind of your head, is this right? Am I doing it right? And just have fun.
What is it about ourselves and what kind of climate can we foster at home that's really going to help children's confidence? Some of the researchers we had on before, one of them in particular came up with the notion of mindsets. I quite like this one. What this person has suggested is that there's two types of people in the world: those with a fixed mindset and those with a growth mindset. So people with fixed mindsets believe that we are born with certain skills, they're innate, we can't develop them. So for those individuals, success is really important. It's a way that they become validated. I'm born a fantastic swimmer. So really, for me to feel good, because that's my sense of self, I have to do well at swimming. This is my dad. I was thinking about mindsets, and how I could explain this a bit better. So in my head, my voice is somewhere between Elvis and Tom Jones. My dad heard me sing and said to me, "It's all right, son, your talents are in other areas. You can do something else." Okay? What did that mean for me? Except I know he's wrong. What did that mean for me? Well, it potentially meant that, I'm going to stop doing that. You know, someone I love and care for is telling me that I'm not good at that. So why would I continue doing it? So what it does, we're almost setting children up to stop doing things. The growth mindset, in contrast, this is me. Believe, like the driving test I said earlier, yeah, I may not get it the first time, but what can I look at, reversing around the corner by the way, what can I look at, what can I change that will enable me to be successful in the future? And I spent many an hour reversing around the corner. I don't even do it now. Praise is hugely important for children, but also for us. The evidence is people who give praise have lasting benefits themselves. Their well-being in general is better than people who typically don't praise. 3 types of praise have been identified. Praise for achievement, so essentially what she does. The most common type of praise, well done, that was great. But the type of praise that probably can lose its impact most quickly. So it's the type of praise that if we overpraise the child, well, they say that all the time. You know, so we want to be careful about how frequently we're praising children for their achievements. There's praise for process, so how the child did it, and essentially what we're talking about here is the effort, the concentration, the inventiveness that a child has put into a task. Yeah, that's what we're praising. And then praise for the person. So praise for the child as an individual. This is the relationship cementer. This is what's saying, I think you're great. I enjoy spending this time with you. Top tips for praise. So as Maria said, over and above all of this is actually engaging with your child and spending time with children. That's the most important thing. We want to praise the child for the effort, the concentration that they're putting into a task rather than the outcome, because if it's outcome based, as we know from the fixed mindset, if the child doesn't do well, they're more likely to give something up. If we're praising them for effort and concentration, they're more likely to continue doing something and therefore accomplish a task. As Maria also said, in terms of playing, we want to engage with what they're doing. So, oh, I see you've used the colour blue here, rather than blue for the grass. You know, let's get a sense of what the child wants to convey to us. Or I like the monster. That's not a monster, that's Nanny. Again, you're putting things onto the child. Ask questions. We want to help the child from the outset realise that they may encounter difficulties, and that's okay. We all encounter difficulties with the tasks that we're doing. So asking them what they need, what obstacles they might face. So you're changing the puncture on your bike. Okay, what do you need for that? Okay, you need a bucket of water, right? Okay, what might happen? And you're taking the lead from the child. You're encouraging them. You're helping them explore. You're modelling problem-solving skills to the child. And I guess the bottom one's really important from the growth mindset. Yeah, you may not get it first time, but you absolutely have the capacity. We can change something. You may not have scored the goal this time, you may not have run the fastest 100 metres, but what can we do, what can we look at, and what can we help you improve so that you'll feel that you do better the next time? When praise isn't effective, when it's non-specific, well done. What was that well done for? What did I do? Well done for doing this piece of art, but I missed 2 maths lessons and a French lesson to do it. So does that mean I can do that in the future? You know, we want to be very specific about what we're praising. When it's not appropriate to the task, so as long as tying your shoelace isn't the task that you're trying to help the child learn, we don't want to be praising them in the future for tying their shoelace. We want to save it for the important things. Well done. You tried really hard at that French exam. I'm really proud of you for putting in so much effort. Criticism, never good. What about constructive criticism? Well, some of the researchers suggest, again, why would you offer constructive criticism? Surely the purpose of constructive criticism is to give one person greater sense of control and make the other person work harder. But we have to provide some feedback to the young people in our lives. What we would be encouraging you to do is to make that feedback quite accurate so they know exactly what you're encouraging them or praising them for, or equally what you're unhappy with. Going right back to the start, we wanted to be optimistic, we wanted to be positive. They're much more likely, children are anyone, we're all much more likely to reinforce positive behaviour than to change negative behaviour. Ignoring the negative and praising the positive can be very difficult to do. For instance, if one child was hitting another, you want to be praising the child for the times when they are sitting together well, they're interacting well, rather than constantly focusing on the negative behaviour. Scaffolding, provide that framework for their learning, and finally, make sure feedback is balanced. We don't want to give the child a shower of negative criticism. We don't want them to feel overwhelmed by negativity. We want it to be balanced. So I guess what the terms we're familiar here with are the praise burger or the praise sandwich, where you have a positive either side of the negative or the behaviour that you want to change.
If you're interested in coming along to any of our events or finding out more about what we do, you can have a look on our website at www.firstpsychology.co.uk. That will link you into all our various local centres. You can also sign up to our blog, our Facebook page and our newsletter, which will keep you informed of what's happening. We'd be delighted to see you.